Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Theo. I'm a field organizer with the Maine Dems here, working to elect Sarah Gideon, Joe Biden, all the Democrats on the ballot. I want to thank you all so much for being here. I also want to remind you that for the duration of the event, please stay seated, keep your mask on, and observe social distancing. We all want to be safe. But thank you so much for being here. I know that you're all here because you have something that shows you that this election is important. This election matters, it has consequences, and what we do over the next week to prepare for it is going to help determine how the next 4 years go and the shape of our country going forward. My story of why I'm involved in this work is because I grew up with parents that weren't allowed to get married. I grew up with two moms in a time that was not very common. It still isn't, but it was a lot less common then, and it was not allowed in any states. I remember growing up talking to my moms and asking, do you think that it will ever be allowed? Will gay marriage ever be legal nationwide? And they said, in a few decades, maybe. You know, in our lifetimes, if we're lucky, we'll see it happen nationwide. Luckily, their prediction was wrong. And in 2012, only a few years after we had that conversation, we got to see the headline that Vice President Joe Biden had said out of the blue on TV that he supported gay marriage and become the highest ranking official in the administration to say so. And the pride that we felt in our leaders at that moment was unparalleled. But that change didn't just happen. The change did not just happen with people waking up one day and deciding, oh, I think I'm fine with gay marriage now. It happened because people went out there and they talked to each other. People shared their stories. They said, I have a gay cousin. I have a brother. I have friends. I have teachers. I have community members and neighbors around me that are suffering right now, and they need to be defended. And those conversations are what these campaigns are all about. They are what this election is going to be won on. We've been having these conversations all over Maine for months now. And going into this last week, we need all the help we can get to have enough to win on November 3rd. Which is why I'm asking all of you to, after this, talk to me or talk to my fellow organizer, Willa, who's out there. She's got a blue jacket and a hat. You can't miss her. And find a time that you can help us out by knocking on doors, calling phones, reaching out to the people we need to in order to win this election, because that's what's going to make a difference, and no one here wants to wake up on November 4th wishing they'd done more. So find a time to talk to your neighbors, find a time to talk to your friends. We'll help you out, and we'll get you started with everything you need, and together, we're going to win next Tuesday, a week from now. With that, it is my great, great honor to introduce the woman who I've been working to elect for so many months now, and who has defended my families and families like mine. She's defended families like yours, and she will continue defending Mainers and families when they need to be. Sarah Gideon, the Speaker of the Maine State House of Representatives, thank you so much for all you do and all you are going to do. Thank you.
Okay, so good afternoon, Bangor. It is so nice to be here with all of you today and to welcome Dr. Jill Biden to Maine. So just a couple of words I want to share with you all first to start us off. It has been 16 months now since we began our campaign for U.S. Senate, making sure that we are representing the people of Maine, but also that we change what this country looks like both today and tomorrow. And one thing that we have seen and heard from people all over this state is that they are ready. They are ready for new leaders, and they are ready for leaders who show empathy and who have a vision for what we can be, not just here in Maine, but all across this country. They are also looking for people who have a proven track record. And that is why it is so wonderful to welcome Dr. Jill Biden, the future First Lady of this country, back here to Maine once again. Now, Joe Biden, Vice President Joe Biden, has demonstrated a clear vision of what we can be. And that is in such stark contrast to Donald Trump and what we have seen for these past 4 years. Somebody who has sought to divide us, somebody who is right now threatening to take our health care away, somebody who has failed in his leadership abilities during this pandemic, coronavirus, and we need more and we need better. Now, during these past 4 years, unfortunately, President Donald Trump has been enabled and emboldened by this United States Senate, led by Mitch McConnell and supported by Susan Collins. Susan Collins, my opponent, has absolutely supported this president 94% of the time, more than any president that she has served with in 24 years. That includes supporting the 2017 tax bill, giving trillions in tax cuts to corporations. That includes supporting Donald Trump's agenda to move the judiciary far to the ideological right. Concluding, that's right, with replacing Ruth Bader Ginsburg last night with Amy Coney Barrett and changing what our future will look like for at least a generation to come. Mainers deserve better. Mainers deserve a senator who will stand up for us. Mainers deserve a senator who have a vision for how we can strengthen healthcare instead. Mainers deserve a president who will create a vision for our country, reestablishing our place in the world, making sure that we are fighting COVID-19 and creating a public health strategy that will then allow us to build an economy that works for everyone. This is who we can be, and it's who we will be together when we elect Joe Biden to be our next president. But make no mistake, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris need a Congress who is ready to work with them. We know what Mitch McConnell will do as majority leader. We saw him do it with President Obama when he said that his #1 priority was to make him a one-term president. We need to make sure that in addition to electing Joe Biden, we elect me to the United States Senate and we change the power and the leadership in the U.S. Senate. Together we can do this. Together we will. And I want to thank all of you for taking part. I want to remind you that every phone call you make, every door that you knock on, every conversation that you have about what is at stake, but also what and who we can be matters. And it is what will make this change. We have 1 week until Election Day. Let's go do this together. And now it is my pleasure to introduce my dear friend and our amazing, incredible, strong governor, Janet Mills. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Bangor. How are you? It's a great pleasure to be here today. And even though we're not, because of my own edicts, not allowed to ask thousands of people to show up, we know there are thousands out there waiting to vote, thousands out there waiting to hear from you. We ask you to wear masks today and every day, and you do. We ask you to stay 6 feet apart, and you do. We ask you to limit your gatherings indoors and outdoors, and you have, and you do, and that is why Maine is one of the safest states in the nation, still. It's a great pleasure to be here with Sarah Gideon, one of the best prospects we've had in years to be in the U.S. Senate and to bring back humanity to the U.S. Senate. I heard last night, I couldn't watch the confirmation vote. But, you know, the Mitch McConnell and the Republicans in the U.S. Senate have promoted a person to the U.S. Supreme Court, not because of her qualifications. She only practiced law for 3 years. 3 years. Not because she represents the best of us, but because of her originalism. She believes in originalism. According to the Federalist Society, of which she's a member. That means, you know, if it's not stated in the Constitution, then it doesn't exist in law. Guess what's not stated in the Constitution? Oh, fair labor standards, occupational health standards, wage and hour standards, women's rights, equality, because we don't have the Equal Rights Amendment. Medicare is not mentioned in the U.S. Constitution. Social Security is not mentioned in the U.S. Constitution. So what's at risk here is a lot more than what was talked about on the Senate floor last night. Our very rights to Medicare, Social Security, fair labor standards, and the like. That's what's at risk. It's a pleasure to be here today with Jill Biden, the future First Lady of our country. And I know that you joined me in August in watching her deliver a remarkable speech from the classroom in Brandywine High School, and to hear her talk about being a champion of community colleges, which we all support. She got her doctorate in doing a dissertation on the future of community colleges and student retention of the community colleges. Isn't this someone we want to be the First Lady of the United States? She's published 2 books, including one about veterans and the military, entitled Don't Forget, God Bless Our Troops. Isn't this someone we want to be First Lady of the United States? And she talked about her husband saying, we just need leadership worthy of our nation, worthy of you, honest leadership to bring us back together, to recover from this pandemic and prepare for whatever else is next. That's someone we want to be the First Lady of the United States, to support her husband, Joe Biden, the next President of the United States. I heard on the way up here, I was listening to Nirav Shah, our dear Dr. Shah, whom I happen to listen to. Unlike the current president who doesn't believe his own Dr. Fauci or Dr. Birx when they tell him people should wear masks, people should remain distant, people shouldn't go to large gatherings, people shouldn't speak at large gatherings, people shouldn't have large gatherings in the Rose Garden that make dozens and dozens of people you work with sick, and including yourself, Mr. President. Yesterday, with 534 deaths from COVID-19, 534 deaths just yesterday. 74,323 new cases of COVID-19 across the country. But the President of the United States said the other day, oh, we've turned the corner. And I'm sure his son, when he comes here Thursday, will say, we've turned the corner. People don't want to hear about this pandemic. People are tired of it. Our mortality in the United States is higher than that of Iran, Kenya, Iraq, Libya, Namibia, Gambia, Somalia, Uganda, and China. More people are dying in this country than any of those countries, and many more. And yet we are the United States of America. Dr. Shah mentioned today, he said, imagine if those folks who are fighting smallpox and developing vaccines and trying to keep people healthy and alive from smallpox years ago just gave up and said, you know, we're tired. We're not going to defeat this, so let's just give up. We're tired. But thank God they didn't. And we're not going to give up. We're not going to surrender to the pandemic. We're not going to give up. The people of this nation deserve the truth about COVID-19 and so many other things. The people deserve the truth. Businesses deserve an honest helping hand. Families and working men and women deserve respect. Last night when they adjourned, the Senate adjourned after doing that one thing till November 9th without passing a pandemic relief package. So businesses, like all the businesses in Maine, so the relief bill that would have given relief to loggers, small businesses, farmers, teachers, nurses, truckers, fishermen, all these people in Maine and elsewhere will have to wait as this virus rips across our supply chain, our markets, and our very lives and livelihoods. The President and the Republicans in the U.S. Senate ignore what the United States of America needs. When it needs leadership, it needs help. When the President of the United States shows that he is unstable, shows that he is dangerous to everyday Americans, dangerous to our health and safety, dangerous to our military, dangerous to our national security. You know, we in the Maine 2nd District and across this state, we respect hard work. We respect integrity. We respect our veterans. We respect our military. We respect families and science and truth. That is why we will support Joe Biden to be the next President of the United States. Joe Biden has a plan to address this pandemic. He will never stand silent in the face of Russian aggression. He will never let a dictator put a bounty on the lives of American soldiers. He will never pick trade wars that cost our industries their livelihoods, including our fishermen and farmers and loggers and truckers and small businesses here in Maine. He will not sell us out to another country at any time, for any price, for any reason. Make no mistake about it. Your health is on the line and is on the ballot next Tuesday. The rights of working Americans are on the ballot next Tuesday. Truth is on the ballot next Tuesday. Justice is on the ballot next Tuesday. So let's get working the next 7 days, get everybody voting, get those absentee ballots in. You're doing such a good job already. Let's make sure we elect a president that has integrity, compassion, and a plan, the ability to help the people of Maine, the people of the 2nd District and the 1st District, and the people of America. We need compassion. We need truth. We need leadership, and that person is Joe Biden. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Jesse Hargrove and Dr. Joe Biden.
Thank you, Governor Mills and Speaker, soon-to-be Senator Gideon. And hello, friends. I'm so honored to be here with you, all of you. My name is Jesse Hargrove, and I live, as we say, just down the road. I've been waiting for almost 4 years, and I'm excited to be here because the wait is almost over. It feels like 2020 began ages ago, around the end of 2016, right after the last presidential election. Yeah. From impeachment fatigue to COVID fatigue, now election fatigue, I may have developed fatigue. I met my wife Kira nearby at the University of Maine. She is a choral and music instructor at Waterville Schools. Like many of our state's music teachers, she's working her bass clef off to reinvent performance while social distancing. I myself am a government, economics, and history teacher right down the road at Herman High School, but my biggest challenge will be advising the yearbook when so many of our students' lives has been adversely impacted. Our 2 sons are enrolled in RSU 3 schools, and they are adapting to small social bubbles, disrupted athletic seasons, and hybrid learning model. They have done a great job independently managing their remote schedules, but my wife and I sometimes joke that we feel like better virtual educators than virtual parents. We were devastated last week when an outcome came to our small rural county. We know that in order to return to normalcy in our schools and communities, we need normalcy in the White House. We know that with Joe Biden, we have a friend of public education, someone who will work to ensure students and school personnel have the resources we need to do our jobs and to be safe. We know this because Dr. Jill Biden will be right there by his side. Throughout Joe Biden's time as Vice President, Dr. Jill Biden continued to teach and continued to advocate, and she did so with kindness and with class, pun intended. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Jill Biden back to Maine.
Thank you, Jesse. You know, like so many educators across the country, you're having to navigate reopening from both sides, hoping that you can reach the kids you teach. Well, you know, he's teaching his own kids as well. So this time has been so difficult. But in so many ways, you know, I have never been more proud to be an educator. And it's because of the grit and the perseverance of teachers like Jesse. So thank you, Jesse, for making the time to be here today. Oh, there you go. I didn't know where you went. And thank you to Governor Mills. Janet, you've spent so much of your career making this state stronger, you know, from fighting the opioid crisis to defending families from bankruptcy. And Joe and I are so grateful for your leadership and your support. Thank you. And so much is at stake right now, and not just in the presidential race. With a blue Senate, Joe is going to be able to do so much more to get our country back on track. And Maine is critical. You know, he's going to be protecting pre-existing conditions, creating millions of new jobs, defending civil rights. So that's why you and Joe want Sarah Gideon to be in the United States Senate to get that all done. So, as you know, all eyes are on you, Maine. So let's go. Sarah, you and Joe can go down to Washington and take it all on. We're looking forward to that. So, hello, Bangor. Thank you for having me today. You know, I was here just, I guess about a month ago, maybe it was more, and it was so beautiful here. And once again, as I look over the horizon and I see how beautiful this state is and the mountains, and I went to Blue Hill. I was in Blue Hill, which I guess is about 45 minutes away. And I had such a great time, and it was so beautiful, and they were so supportive that I told my two sisters, Bonnie and Kimmy, that they had to come back with me today. So I brought my sisters with me. So it was really cool. I got to go on a lobster boat. I had never done anything like that, but I listened to the lobster men and women, and they were telling me about their loss of business and what they needed, and it was a great experience. I have to tell you, I'll never forget that day. It was just one of those magical moments that you have on the campaign trail. And Sarah and Gov, I know you feel the exact same way. You know, there's just those days, those moments that just, you know, you just think, wow, this is what it's all about. Then when you meet such great people. So I'm ready to ask you, Bangor, are you ready to get to work? So I want to start with a story about when I first met my husband, Joe. And it was actually when he came to my townhouse to pick me up for a blind date. And so he had called me on a Saturday. It's so funny. And he said, hi, Jill. You know, this is Joe Biden. Of course, I really didn't know him. So I thought, like, how did he get my number? And so he said, are you free tonight to go out on a date? And I said, no, I'm sorry, I have a date. And so he said, well, would you consider canceling it? I know, right? I mean, there's a guy with confidence. And, you know, look at me. I said, sure. So anyway, I called the guy I had a date with. I never heard from him again, by the way. And so it was the 70s. And if you could, some of you may remember it back then, I don't know. But okay, one person remembers in the whole, okay, a couple. So it was, remember, everybody wore bell bottoms and love beads and tie-dye. And so I wore my hair down to the middle of my waist, and so did most of the men I dated. So when Joe shows up at the door, I mean, you know what he all looks like. I mean, so I opened the door, and I took one look at him, and he's in this perfect suit and leather loafers, and I thought, thank God it's only one date. But he surprised me, and needless to say, I fell in love with him and, you know, our two incredible little boys. And when I agreed to marry him, he looked me right in the eyes and he said, Jill, I promise you, your life will never change. Well, that was a lie. So now, standing in front of you all, I guess that's pretty clear. But, you know, the life that we built together with our two sons and our daughter, Ashley, has certainly changed. But one thing that hasn't changed is the character of the man I married. And the man who came home every night from Washington, D.C. to Wilmington, Delaware, to tuck our kids into bed while I studied for my doctorate. And the man who gives his cell number to grieving parents because he needs them to know that even though their hearts are shattered, like ours were, you know, they aren't alone. And the man who went back to work just a few days after our son Bo died because he knew that the American people needed their vice president. And over these past couple years, I've seen him knock down and get back up again and again because his strength of will is unstoppable and his faith is unshakable because it's not in politicians or political parties or even himself. It's in the providence of God. It's in the potential of this country. It's in you. It's in us. And Joe couldn't be more different than the man who holds that office right now. Donald Trump has spent a lifetime attempting to cheat his way into success and prestige and most of all, profit. Again and again, he tells this story about our country, that truth doesn't matter, that decency doesn't matter, that our voices don't matter. He wants us to believe that this is who we are, that we're angry and divided and hateful. But you know that. He's wrong. He's wrong. Democrats and Republicans, factory workers and nurses, military parents and educators like Jesse from every corner of this country. They want the same things, to work hard and to make a good life for their family. But they can't do that right now. They can't do that because they're losing their jobs and their loved ones, because they're staying at home or working on the front lines without protection. They're worried about paying their bills and whether their children will be safe when they go to school. We aren't divided. We're just trying to survive the chaos of Donald Trump's America. So for a moment, I want to take you to Joe Biden's America. Right now you feel lighter, don't you? So I want you to picture it. You wake up in Joe Biden's America, and it's a beautiful morning like today. So you're sipping your morning coffee, and you pick up the paper. And the headline isn't about some late-night tweet storm. Instead, it's a story about how we're strengthening and expanding Social Security so that it can continue to improve American lives for generations to come. You turn on the television, and the anchors aren't talking about spikes in COVID cases. Instead, they're talking about the millions of good-paying jobs that we've created. And then they're reporting on how we're making prescription drugs available and affordable. And when those anchors on that TV station cut to the President of the United States, you don't turn the channel. I know, isn't that what we all do? You call in your family from the other room because you want them to hear what the president has to say. And when you go to bed that night, you don't worry about corruption and chaos in our government. You don't think about our government at all because we are led by an honest commander-in-chief who you can trust. A president for all Americans. Someone you can feel proud of, who brings out the best in us. That's the future that I want. And I know that that's the future that you want too. But if we want to get there, this is it. This is it. This week is it. There are no do-overs. We can't sit back and watch what happens. We have to decide what happens. Our voices are more powerful than we know. So tell me, Bangor, Maine, are you ready to go out and vote? So get in your ballots soon, and if you don't have one, make a plan today. Don't wait, and then get involved. I know you're busy and you're stretched so thin, but this election is too important not to do every single thing that we can do. So sign up for a weekend of action, because we only have one more weekend to go. One conversation can change a mind. One vote could be the difference between winning and losing a state. And one state could decide our future for generations to come. So will you be that one vote? Will you join us now? Will you stand with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris? Because when you do, yes, stand, let's stand. Let's stand, because when you do, I know we're going to win. So thank you for all that you do for your communities, for this community. Thank you for showing up today, now, when it matters. And thank you for your faith in an idea that's bigger than any one of us, and that is Maine. We're going to do this because we're going to do this together. Thank you so much, Bangor. Thank you.
Thank you.